What if the people closest to you are the ones holding you back the most? Sometimes walking away, even from family or lifelong friends, is the only way to protect your peace. Let's talk about the signs that it's time to cut ties for good. Have you ever had someone in your life who just drains you? Maybe it's a family member who always criticizes your choices, or a friend who only shows up when they need something. At first, you tell yourself, it's just how they are, but over time, it starts to chip away at your peace, your confidence, even your happiness. Here's the hard truth. Not every relationship is worth keeping. Whether it's a friend, a co-worker, or even family, some connections do more harm than good. And as much as it hurts to walk away, holding on can hurt even more. So today, let's get real about the signs that it's time to let go, even if it's someone you love. 1. They constantly undermine you. Imagine this scenario. You're sitting at dinner with someone you care about, sharing a proud moment from your week. Maybe it's a promotion you worked hard for, a fitness goal you finally hit, or even something small, like learning how to cook a new dish. You're excited, expecting some encouragement, but instead, they hit you with something like, "That's nice, but isn't that what you were supposed to do anyway?" I've been there. I remember when I was starting a personal project that meant everything to me. I poured hours into research, planning, and preparation. When I finally told a close friend about it, hoping for some encouragement, they just smirked and said, "You always start things like this, but you never finish them." My heart sank. It wasn't just the words, it was the tone, the casual dismissal of something I cared deeply about. At first I told myself it was just their way of being honest. Maybe they thought they were motivating me, but over time I noticed a pattern. It wasn't just about the project. They had something negative to say about almost every success I shared. "Oh, you got that promotion. Probably because your boss likes you, not because you're good at your job." Or, "That's great that you lost weight, but don't get too confident. It's easy to gain it back." It's easy to brush off one or two comments like this. You might even laugh it away thinking, that's just how they are. But when it becomes a habit, it starts to eat away at you. You start doubting yourself, questioning if your accomplishments are even worth celebrating. It's like trying to climb a mountain with someone constantly pulling you down, making you second-guess every step. Here's the truth no one tells you. People who constantly undermine you are often battling their own insecurities. They see your growth as a threat. Your progress shines a light on their stagnation, and instead of facing that, they choose to dim your light. It's not about you. It's about their inability to deal with their own fears and shortcomings. But here's where it gets dangerous. If you keep these people in your life, their words start to sink in. You internalize their doubt, and it becomes your own. You start to hold back, afraid of being criticized. You play it safe, just to avoid their negativity, and in doing so, you limit your own potential. Walking away from someone like this can feel selfish, especially if they're a long-time friend or family member. But let me ask you this. Is it selfish to protect your peace? Is it wrong to prioritize your growth over someone else's comfort? As Stoics, we're taught to value what we can control, our mindset, our actions, and our response to the world. What we don't owe anyone is the sacrifice of our happiness to appease their insecurities. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control how someone treats you, but you can control how much access they have to your life. Life is too short to surround yourself with people who don't clap when you win. Real friends and family will celebrate your victories, no matter how big or small, because they care about your happiness. They don't see your success as a threat. They see it as a shared joy. So if someone in your life constantly makes you feel small, unworthy, or inadequate, it's time to let go. You don't need their approval to thrive. You only need your own belief in yourself. And trust me, once you cut out the noise, your confidence and peace will soar. 2. They mock your goals. Picture this. You're finally mustering the courage to share a dream that's been sitting in your heart for years. Maybe it's starting your own business, writing a book, learning a new skill, or even something as simple as adopting a healthier lifestyle. You're excited, vulnerable, and hoping for encouragement. But instead of support, you're met with laughter, a dismissive smirk, or comments like, "Really? You think you can do that?" It's deflating, isn't it? I've experienced this firsthand. A few years ago, I decided to start pursuing a passion project that had been on my mind for ages. I was nervous but excited, so I shared my plans with a close friend. Their response, a sarcastic, "Good luck with that. Let me know when you give up." I laughed it off at the time, pretending it didn't bother me. But later, when I was working on the project, their words kept replaying in my head. What if they're right? What if I'm not cut out for this? That doubt didn't come from within me. It was planted there by someone who should have been cheering me on. When someone mocks your goals, it reveals far more about them than it does about you. Here's the reality. People who belittle your dreams are often projecting their own fears. They've convinced themselves that pursuing something big is too risky, too hard, or too unrealistic. And instead of confronting their own limitations, they choose to mock yours. But this behavior is dangerous for one simple reason. It chips away at your belief in yourself. Every mocking comment feels like a tiny pinprick, and over time, those little wounds can bleed away your confidence. You start doubting whether your dreams are worth chasing. You start asking yourself, am I being foolish? Here's the truth you need to hear. No dream is too big or too small if it matters to you. The Stoics teach us to focus on what we can control, and your goals, your vision for your life, fall squarely into that category. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." If you have clarity about your purpose, why let someone else's insecurity derail you? People who mock your goals aren't looking out for you. They're trying to keep you in the same box they've placed themselves in. They fear what your success would say about their lack of action. After all, if you achieve what you're aiming for, it forces them to confront why they haven't done the same. Now let's get personal. If you've been holding yourself back because of what someone said, ask yourself this: are they the ones living your life? Will they feel the regret of missed opportunities when you're looking back at what could have been? That's on you. Walking away from people who mock your goals, especially if they're close to you, isn't easy. But sometimes it's necessary. Surround yourself with those who lift you up, not those who tear you down. Find people who say, "I believe in you," not, "That'll never work." I learned this the hard way. The same friend who mocked my goals drifted out of my life over time. At first I felt guilty about the distance, but then I realized something. Their voice had been holding me back more than I realized. Without their negativity, I started believing in myself more, taking bolder steps, and achieving things I never thought possible. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let those who mock you be the fuel that drives you forward. Prove them wrong, not out of spite, but to show yourself that you are capable of more than they ever believed. Your goals are yours. Protect them fiercely, chase them unapologetically, and never let anyone's laughter dim the fire in your heart. 3. They're inconsistent. Let's be real. If someone can't decide whether they want to be in your life or not, why are you wasting your time? Inconsistency isn't just a quirk or a bad habit. It's a form of emotional manipulation. It keeps you guessing, wondering, did I do something wrong? Or, why aren't they showing up for me? And let me tell you, the moment you start questioning your own worth because of someone's erratic behavior, they've already won. I had a so-called friend who was a master at this game. When life was smooth, they were all in. They'd hype me up, make plans, promise they'd be my ride or die. But the second things got tough or inconvenient for them. Ghost mode. No texts, no calls, just radio silence. Then, out of nowhere, they'd show up again with a casual, "Hey, miss me," like their absence didn't matter. And you know what's worse? For the longest time, I let it slide. I made excuses for them. They're busy. They've got a lot on their plate. But deep down, I knew the truth. They only cared when it was easy or beneficial for them. Let me say something controversial. Inconsistency is a giant red flag, even in family. Yes, I said it. Just because someone shares your DNA doesn't mean they get a free pass to treat you like an afterthought. If they only show up when it's convenient, they're not being a family member. They're being a user. Here's the kicker. People who are inconsistent aren't clueless. They know exactly what they're doing. They thrive on keeping you in a constant state of uncertainty because it puts the power in their hands. You're left chasing their attention, their time, their approval, and that's exactly where they want you, off balance and doubting yourself. The Stoics were blunt about relationships like this. Epictetus said, "Seek people who elevate your soul." Do you really think someone who dips in and out of your life on a whim is elevating you? No, they're dragging you into a cycle of second-guessing and emotional fatigue. But here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to admit. We enable this behavior. By letting them back in every time they disappear, we're teaching them that it's okay to treat us like an option. And if you let yourself be an option, don't be surprised when you're never their priority. Think about it. When was the last time someone's inconsistency made you feel valued? When did their on-again, off-again behavior ever build trust? It doesn't. It erodes it. Marcus Aurelius didn't mince words when he said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good person should be. Be one." If someone's inconsistency is robbing you of your peace, the good thing to do isn't to forgive endlessly. It's to walk away. Yes, it's harsh. But life is too short to cater to people who can't decide if you're worth their time. Surround yourself with those who show up, consistently, wholeheartedly, and without excuses. And for the ones who can't commit to being reliable, cut the cord. It's not heartless, it's self-respect. Because here's the bottom line, you're not a backup plan. You're not a convenience. You're a priority, or you're nothing at all. And if someone doesn't see that, it's their loss, not yours. 4. They only call when they need something. You know the type. They go radio silent for weeks, months even, until they suddenly pop up in your life with a friendly, "Hey, how are you?" At first you think, "Oh, they miss me." But within minutes, the real reason they've reached out becomes clear. They need something. Money, advice, a favor, your time, whatever it is, the conversation always circles back to them. I've had people like this in my life. They'd disappear until their world started falling apart. A job interview they weren't prepared for, an emergency loan they couldn't get elsewhere, or even something as small as needing a ride. And every time I'd drop everything to help because I believed that's what a good friend or family member does. But here's the thing, when the tables were turned, they were never there for me. Ever. Calls went unanswered, texts ignored, and their excuses were always some variation of, "Oh, I was so busy," or "I didn't know you needed help." Funny how they had all the time in the world when they needed something. Let's get real. This isn't friendship. It's transactional. These people don't see you as a person. They see you as a resource. And as soon as you stop being useful, they vanish until the next time they need to exploit your kindness. Here's the controversial truth. Allowing people like this to stay in your life isn't compassion. It's self-sabotage. They're not building a relationship. They're draining it. Every time you answer their call or bail them out, you're reinforcing the idea that you're just a tool for their convenience. The Stoics teach us to value our time and energy. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." Ask yourself, is someone who only shows up when they need something making you better? Are they supporting your growth, or are they stunting it by taking and taking without giving anything back? But let's dig deeper. Why do we allow this behavior? For many of us, it's guilt. Maybe you feel obligated because they're family, or you don't want to seem selfish. But here's the truth. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup, and constantly giving to people who don't reciprocate leaves you drained and resentful. I learned this the hard way. There was a family member who only ever reached out when they were in trouble. It was always something urgent. "I need rent money. Can you help me fix this problem?" And for years I gave in because I felt it was my duty. But then I noticed a pattern. They never called to check on me, never asked how I was doing, and never showed up when I needed them. One day, they called me again, and before they could even get to their request, I interrupted and said, "Let me guess. You need something?" The silence on the other end of the line said it all. That was the moment I realized this relationship was one-sided, and it wasn't going to change unless I changed it. Setting boundaries doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to stop being taken advantage of. It means you're refusing to be someone's safety net while they offer you nothing in return. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." You can't control someone's intentions, but you can control how much access they have to your life. Here's the hard truth. If someone only calls you when they need something, they don't value you. They value what you can do for them. And if they can't be bothered to show up for you when you need support, they don't deserve to be a part of your life. It's not easy to cut ties with people like this, especially if they're close to you, but you owe it to yourself to prioritize relationships that are mutual, not one-sided. You deserve people who check in just to see how you're doing, who give as much as they take, and who see you as more than a means to an end. So the next time someone calls out of the blue with a favor in mind, ask yourself, are they calling because they care or because they need something? If it's always the latter, it might be time to stop answering. 5. They hold grudges. Some people treat grudges like trophies, proudly displaying their bitterness for everyone to see. They hold on to the smallest slight, the tiniest mistake, and carry it with them as if it defines your entire relationship. Let me be blunt. If someone can't let go of the past, they're chaining both of you to it, and that's not a relationship, it's a prison sentence. I once knew someone who could recall every single perceived wrong I had ever committed against them. Missed their call once? It was brought up in every argument for the next year. Didn't attend an event they invited me to. They'd throw it back in my face, conveniently forgetting the dozens of times I showed up for them. It didn't matter how much effort I put into the relationship. All they could focus on were the few times I fell short. When people hold grudges, they're telling you something important about themselves. They value resentment more than resolution. Instead of addressing the issue, forgiving and moving forward, they choose to keep the wound open, reminding you of it every chance they get. It's exhausting and deeply unfair. The Stoics were adamant about the dangers of clinging to the past. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Holding on to grudges is the opposite of strength. It's weakness disguised as righteousness. It shows a lack of emotional maturity and an unwillingness to grow. But let's address the elephant in the room. Why do some people hold grudges? For many, it's about control. A grudge gives them leverage, a way to guilt or manipulate you. They'll remind you of your sins to keep you feeling guilty, indebted, or like you owe them something. It's their way of ensuring the relationship revolves around their terms, not yours. The irony is, people who hold grudges often demand perfection from you while giving themselves a free pass. They expect you to never mess up, but if you call them out on their flaws, suddenly it's a different story. They'll excuse their behavior, justify their actions, or even flip the script to make you feel like the bad guy. Let's get controversial here. Relationships aren't about keeping score. If someone is more focused on tallying your mistakes than building a meaningful connection, they're toxic, plain and simple. And it doesn't matter if they're a friend, a partner, or even a family member. No one has the right to hold your past over your head like a weapon. I've learned that life is far too short to waste on people who can't let go. Carrying a grudge is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. It corrodes the relationship, fosters resentment, and leaves no room for growth. Here's the hard truth. You can apologize, explain, and make amends, but someone who holds grudges will never let you off the hook. Why? Because their grudge isn't really about you. It's about them. It's about their inability to process emotions, to forgive, or to see beyond their own perspective. So what do? You set boundaries. You refuse to let someone define you by your mistakes, especially when they refuse to let go of their own bitterness. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If someone's reaction is to hold on to a grudge forever, that's their choice. But you don't have to stick around for it. Forgiveness is a two-way street. If someone isn't willing to meet you halfway, it's not your job to drag them across. You deserve relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, understanding and growth, not ones weighed down by the baggage of unresolved resentment. So if someone in your life treats every mistake like a permanent stain, it might be time to walk away. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough about yourself to stop being someone's punching bag. Let them hold on to their grudges. You've got better things to hold on to, like your peace, your self-respect, and your future. 6. They're envious of your success. Jealousy is a subtle poison, and when it comes from someone close to you, it can be downright toxic. Envy isn't just about wishing they had what you have, it's about resenting you for achieving it. And the sad truth is, some people would rather see you fail than cheer for your success. I remember the first time I noticed envy in a friendship. I had just landed a job I'd been working hard to get for years. Naturally, I was excited, and I shared the news with a close friend, expecting them to be happy for me. Instead of congratulations, I got a half-hearted, "Must be nice to have that kind of luck." Luck? I had spent years grinding, sacrificing, and staying up late to make it happen. At first, I brushed it off. Maybe they were having a bad day, right? But it didn't stop there. Every time I accomplished something, big or small, Their comments became more pointed. They'd downplay my achievements, make snarky remarks, or worse, change the subject entirely. It became clear they weren't rooting for me. They were silently hoping I'd trip and fall. Here's the thing. Envy isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's disguised as backhanded compliments, passive-aggressive jokes, or even outright indifference. But one thing is consistent. Envy shows you who is truly in your corner and who isn't. The Stoics understood this dynamic well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Rejoice with those who rejoice." True friends, true family, true partners, these are the people who light up when you succeed because your happiness adds to theirs. If someone can't celebrate your wins, it says more about their insecurities than it does about you. But let's make this controversial. Envy is a deal breaker in any relationship. Why? Because envy turns admiration into resentment. It creates a silent competition where there should be support. And worst of all, it often leads to sabotage, whether intentional or not. I've seen it happen. A friend envies your promotion, so they subtly spread rumors to undermine your reputation. A sibling envies your financial success, so they dismiss your hard work as privilege. A partner envies your social circle, so they guilt-trip you into spending less time with friends. It's toxic, and it chips away at the foundation of trust. Let's be honest here. Envy doesn't just hurt you, it destroys the person who harbors it. When someone envies your success, they're not just unhappy with you, they're unhappy with themselves. They see your accomplishments as a reminder of what they don't have, or what they haven't achieved, and instead of using it as motivation, they turn it into bitterness. But it's not your job to dim your light to make someone else comfortable. You shouldn't have to downplay your achievements, apologize for your success, or tiptoe around someone else's insecurities. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." Someone who envies you is trapped in a mindset of scarcity. They believe your success somehow takes away from theirs. And here's the kicker. Envy isn't something you can fix for them. No amount of reassurance, humility, or kindness will change how they feel. That's their battle to fight. Your responsibility is to protect your peace and surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate your growth. So, what do you do when you notice envy creeping into a relationship? You confront it, if you can. Be honest and say, "I feel like there's tension when I talk about my achievements. Is there something we need to address?" Sometimes it opens the door for growth. But if they deny it, lash out, or make you feel guilty for succeeding, it's time to reevaluate the relationship. Walking away might feel harsh, especially if it's a close friend or family member. But remember, you can't thrive in an environment where your success is met with resentment. You deserve to be surrounded by people who inspire you, support you, and genuinely celebrate your victories. Envy is their burden, not yours. Keep growing, keep succeeding, and let the envious sort out their own insecurities.